So some of you know that I like to take either a quote or a motto or something with me on these annual sabbaticals, something to lean into to bring even deeper meaning to the time away. And this time I chose Henry David Thoreau. And Henry David Thoreau, many might know, he went on a sabbatical of his own. His lasted 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. It was in 1845, and he went to Walden Pond. He actually constructed a little cabin where he lived. And he said he went there to live deliberately. And I want to read this. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it has to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. And here's the quote I love. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. That is what I took with me. I wanted to experience this life as joy and suck the marrow out of it. I wanted to be available to it every moment, because you know what I've noticed? It takes a lot. It takes a lot for us to be present to the joys of life, the little ones and the big ones, the surface ones and the deep ones. And so that is what I want to talk to you about today. Here on the platform, I want to make sure everybody can see that that is a picture of a roller coaster. A roller coaster. And the roller coaster, the reason why I put that up there was to depict all of the things in life that bring us joy. Maybe pleasure is a better word, right? When we get the parking space or the girl or the job. Joys that come because of some outside influence. Something happens, and we have this feeling of joy. And I want to invite you to, if it's comfortable, close your eyes and think about a joy that you have recently experienced, something that made you go, oh, so good, right? And notice the quality. It's opening our hearts, and it's also fleeting, right? There's a beginning and an end point to it. And now, if you bring yourself back into the room or onto your computer or however you watch us, that is this kind of joy. And all through the month, the talks, which have been amazing, talked about the difference of that joy that is dependent upon something happening on the outside, and then that deeper current of joy that is always present. And that is depicted by this blanket that I won at a Christmas party that we had a couple of years ago. This is inviting us to feel into the current of joy that is always present, that doesn't ask if something good or challenging is happening, that simply is. That simply is. And what it will take in order to connect with that joy that is always present, that deep current that runs through each one of us, is to come present into this now moment. Yes. And you might say, oh, Karen, we know that. No rocket science needed to figure that out. And yet, how often are we not in the present moment? How often is something on our heart that happened many years ago, sometimes, that has its grip still on us? Or how often are we focusing on when this talk is over, when we get to go home, when we get to do whatever it is we're doing after this? You know, I have been in this teaching for 20 years, and I thought, oh, I will go on sabbatical, and day one, no meetings, no deadlines, no nothing. I will just be in the present moment all day long. I take all the chuckles from online and here in the sanctuary that you know what I'm talking about. We don't have this inner switch, right? At least I haven't found it yet, where I can just say, now I let go of everything and I'm just enjoying this now moment. I knew that about myself. I knew that simply stop doing what it is that I usually do does not automatically result in being in the presence of the divine, being in the presence of life, capital L, life itself, being in the presence of the current of joy that runs through me as it runs through each and every beloved. And so I came up with a plan. And we decided to spend the first part of the sabbatical with the beloveds who still know how to do that. And you know who that is? Those are the little ones, the little ones. The little ones who can lay flat on their belly and watch a ladybug make its way across the patio. It takes a long time, I can tell you. A little one that still feels so connected to life. We can live, we can learn so much by being with that freshness of life. I think we have a picture of how it looked for us. They're the grandkids, right? They're the grandkids. I know. Just looking at that picture brings back the joy of spending so much time witnessing how they are in the present moment. And so I ask you, each one of you listening to this talk, how do you connect with the present moment? Ask yourself that. How do you do it? Do you spend time either with a grandchild or a friend's child or your inner child? Just being, not being busy to educate or show them how to do something right, but just being in the presence of that joy that bubbles out from them in laughter. I especially like Heidi. She's the one right there, right front and center. Yeah. And so my invitation is really to find what brings you into the present moment. And you know how you know that you're there is when everything else falls away and we are connected to life and we feel that current of joy right at the very center of our being, even with so much challenge going on either in our personal lives and the world. It is not that that is not happening, but it is our decision, our choice to be with that joy within. I tell you, a week of that, and I was a lot more in the present moment. And do you know how I know that I was in the present moment? Because we had a plan, right? We had a plan to drive a certain way and meet certain family members at a certain time. And all of those plans went out the window. Has it ever happened to you? You have a plan and didn't happen? Yes. And my usual reaction, and you can ask Reverend Leslie about this, I get a little, or Tom, whoever, I get a little, not this time. We changed the trajectory of our road trip, and I was able to just be with it. And here is what I discovered. It turned out magnificently. Because of this change in plans, we found ourselves at the Yellowstone National Park. And we camped there for 2 nights. Do you know how hard it is to get a campground in Yellowstone? But they had space for us. They had space for us. We spent 2 nights. First night was 44 degrees. Tell you that's cold when you're in a tent. Yes. And all through the time there, those 2 days, seeing those magnificent animals in their natural environment and feeling the earth literally steaming and bubbling like it does, it made me realize in the now moment that I had laid something down, my expectation. My being so tied to a plan that I forgot to be present to life. I realized I am so good at doing life that sometimes I forget to enjoy life. Has that ever happened to you? Do you ever become aware of that we are so busy doing, that we forget to actually just breathe and be? Even when things don't go as planned. And so, nature was such a beautiful byproduct. Being in the elements, so immediate. And I realized how much I need it. John Muir, that beloved who lived his life in nature, said this: everybody needs beauty, places to play in and to pray in, where nature may heal and cheer and give strength to body and soul alike. Nature, what does that mean to you? Think about it. Again, if it's comfortable, close your eyes. When was the last time that you felt the grass underneath your feet or heard the way the wind is playing with a pine needle, with the trees, how they are swaying? Perhaps nature for you, that restorative space, perhaps it is at the ocean, in the mountains, or in your backyard, or at the tree right here at the New Vision Center. Where is nature for you, where it restores you? And here comes the question. When was the last time you were there? You scheduled time. You placed that big rock, as Reverend Leslie called it a couple of weeks ago, that big rock of importance into our schedule. Because if we don't schedule it, it's likely not going to happen. And what do we allow to get in the way of it? Doing life, right? Not experiencing it. And so that is my big invitation. And even right here in this now moment, can you let go of anything and be present here? Be present here. Because that, beloveds, is how we connect with that river of joy that runs through us. I see it sometimes as tap roots, right? Roots having to go down, deep in. And we can use the blessing of the roller coaster joys to help us to get there. That's perfectly fine. But don't stop there. Don't stop right at the surface level. Allow yourself to go deeper into the current of life itself. And that is truly what I brought home with me. The realization that joy is always present, and I am called to experience it. And so, joy is not waiting for life to become perfect. I love that reading that Maureen shared earlier, right? Joy doesn't care if we are ready. Joy is right there. And what can you do? What can we do? What can I do to remove any barriers to be present to it? It is not rocket science, but it takes everything we got. And so in a moment, we're going to do a process. But before we do that, I wanted to let you know that the homework, the invitation this week is really to find joy. To find joy. And I would invite you to take a picture of it. All of those slides that you saw today were pictures that I took, photos that I took. Take a photo when you feel joy. It doesn't even have to make sense to anybody else but to you. And if you would like to send it to me, I would love to see it. Where do you experience joy? Where are you able to remove all of the barriers that come in our way? And you say, I am here now, and I will enjoy it. And we're going to get into that right now. I ask our wonderful music director, Frank, to go ahead and start just some underlining, some accompanying for this guided process. I want to let you know that you are invited to close your eyes. Trust that I will bring you back out in just a few minutes. If you are joining us online, if it's safe, please close your eyes. And we connect with a tool that allows us to come into this present moment, which is our breath. And we just focus on our in-breath and our out-breath. It's nothing that needs to be changed. We're simply becoming aware of it. And I invite you to have a listen to that inner dialogue that is going on. Just noticing the moment we approach it with compassion, with love, our shoulders drop. We're recognizing that we are whole, perfect, and complete, that right in this now moment, all is truly well. And all is well, and all is well. There's no place where we need to arrive, nothing we need to accomplish. Just breathing in this now moment. And then notice if you become impatient. If you expect something more of yourself, of this participation at the New Vision Center this morning. Are you able to rest right here in this moment? We're going to stretch it for just a little while longer. For this is how we move from being a spectator to noticing that it is happening in our own life. And so with the next in-breath, I invite you to send those roots down into the ground, into that current of love, of joy, of peace, of wholeness, of life itself. As we cultivate these moments, the current of life, the current of joy keeps flowing with more grace, with more ease. So you can choose to stay here and open your heart even more and listen to this beautiful song, Nearer to My Heart, and recognize that that is where the current of joy truly flows. And it is up to us to visit there often.